be a little antiquated.
Let's go ahead.
It's too convoluted. Yeah, I mean, if you ask average people, I'm sure none of them could really explain it to you.
Yeah.
It's too confusing.
Yeah, it's basically me trying to trying to explain why Drake keeps singing. I can't, like I can sit here and give you an explanation, but like I really don't understand. So
no, but what's more important is why Drake gives you that Canadian, that top boy kind of what's going on, my guy? Like they're doing that kind of stuff. Now that's what I really can't understand. Now I can understand you rapping, I can understand you singing, but I can't understand why you do that, my guy. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. I mean, that's just me. So I just had to add that in there.
Shout out to Bravery. Shout out to Bravery. So, Aubrey, if you're listening, man, keep on doing good work. So, family, welcome to another episode of BAP Politics. I am one half of the hosting duo. My name is Teddy D. As always, you can get at me at the Why Not Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to listen to our other work, please feel free to support the Why Not Podcast as well as the Black Astronauts Podcast, anywhere where you can find podcasts in these podcast streets. The other half of this hosting duo is none other than one half of the Brothers Lehman Sports Happy Hour, one of, if not the dopest sports show in these podcast streets. My homie Jonathan Lehman, how you feeling today, brother?
Man, Teddy, what's going on, brother? Appreciate that. Appreciate the intro as always.
Absolutely.
For those of y'all out there, always want to shout out to the listeners first and foremost, because without y'all, we wouldn't have no show.
Indeed.
But y'all can always reach out to me at Brothers Lehman on Twitter. And if you're interested in checking out the show, you a sports fan, check out our show on blackisonline.com.
Yes, sir. And, of course, you can reach out to me on Twitter. Shout out to Kai Love at Teddy. What is my Twitter name? I was about to give the Instagram name. Let me get this right. Is it? It's Teddy _D_ on Twitter, and on Instagram is Dwight Ted Government mixed with the Nick. That's what I do. And if it was just the two of us, we would bring you another hard hitting show. Because side note, family, man, y'all are showing a lot of love. We came back with the first episode last week, and we do appreciate the support. So we decided to call in one of the legends in this game. And if you're listening to this on the Black Astronauts Podcast Network, you understand that he is one of four of the pillars of this network. None other than our country cousin, one of the music scholars of the Black Astronauts Podcast Network, the homie Polo. How you feeling, sir?
I mean, after that introduction, you know what I'm saying? I'm feeling great. Feeling great, man. You know what I'm saying? Making a black man blush over here, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Listen. Giving just credit to you, man. As a fan, it's just good to hear you on the mic, man. It's good to hear you on the mic. So
it's good to be here. I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for inviting me.
Indeed. So if this is your first time listening, we appreciate you. If this is not, you know how we roll. We are a political pod with your time in mind. We try our hardest to give you as many topics that we can in about half an hour. We're not going to spend too much time on either one, but we are going to inform you, entertain you, and hopefully give you a little opinion mixed in there. So with that being said, let's start the clock. So the first topic we want to touch on is something that we had a lot of response from, actually, when we touched base on it a couple of years ago, and that is the Electoral College. The Electoral College. Now, we are in our, let's just say, anywhere from our 30s to 40s. Don't worry about the numbers, all right? We somewhere in there, right?
Right.
So we've been a part of several presidential elections, and I don't think I'm speaking out of pocket by saying in every presidential election, the Electoral College has come into play. So one, let's explain the basics of it. The basics of it are this country, when it listen. you're speaking to 3 African Americans, so we'll be the first to tell you they didn't get everything right. Shout out to the original name of this podcast, 3/5 of a podcast. But one of the things,
yes,
that's right. One of the things that they did have in mind, that they did have some good foresight on, is how to give different parts of this country some say in the political process. So if you look at, for example, 4 of the states that have the largest population in the country, let's say Texas, Florida, California, and New York. If we just went by the popular vote, more than likely they would be the ones deciding who is in office and what exactly we're voting for, as far as a federal election goes. So their idea was, let's have a weighted system. So if you have a state that has the highest population, whether it be Texas, whether it be California, Florida, wherever, they would have the highest number of electoral ballots. So say, for instance, the highest number is 40. And for the record, we're not going to get into specifics because it changes and we don't want to say anything wrong. So we'll just say, for example, Texas may have 40 electoral votes. Whereas a smaller state like Rhode Island may only walk away with 5. Now, those 5 may not seem like a lot, but compared to 40, when the state outnumbers you by probably 100 to 200 times what you have in population, it's about as fair as you can get, right? So that's the premise. Now, the practice of what has happened is a little different, to say the least, right? So we're not going to get stuck in the weeds with talking about redlining and all the issues that came into play, for example, in the 2000 presidential election with George W. and Al Gore. Shout out to you, Florida, the strange part of our country.
The chance. You're going to have to edit that part. You're going to have to edit, but no chance. That's all I got to say.
The hanging chance. Oh, the hanging chance. Jesus. I still haven't forgot that visual. But with that being said, we'll start with you, Polo. Just to open it up. What are some of your thoughts on the process of the Electoral College and how it's come into?
Well, every person should count. Mm-hmm. And this is why some people feel like they feel disenfranchised with their vote, because they feel like even if they vote and their person gets the popular vote, it's not up to them. It's up to, if their state gives those electoral college votes to a particular candidate. So I'm always of the belief that it should be the will of the people, period. So I feel like I think it's, well, of course, when your candidate wins, you really don't care. But you know what I'm saying? That's right. The thing that nobody really talks about. That's right. But I do feel like, I feel like the Electoral College should be done away with. That's just my personal opinion. I feel like the popular vote should be the will of the people, and that the result of that should be the person who's the president. Period.
Got you. JL, what thoughts do you have on the Electoral College, sir?
Well, the biggest issue I have with it is, doing some research on it and looking at how they divvied up the population, if you will. Mm-hmm. I mean, they didn't even label us a full person.
Right.
We were 3/5 of a population count, if you will, which, in a sense, as somebody who enjoyed math in high school, I'm like, well, that math doesn't add up, does it?
Right.
So I'm just for me, it's already, during the history, reading the history of it, it's already has a race issue built into it. And agreeing with Polo, I mean, basically throughout history, I think it's 4 times the popular vote lost. So I mean, the majority of the time, whoever gets the popular vote is going to win. So I mean, I agree. I think at this point, just do away with it. It's a flawed system.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. I mean, just looking at it at its face. And if we're really going to be in this mindset where every single vote matters, then why not just count every single vote and the most popular candidate gets the victory?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a valid point that we touched on, I think, in our first episode way back in 2017, which is there's only been 2 times in the presidential election where the popular vote lost and the presidency was won by the Electoral College. And that's not just in the last 100 years. That's 4 times in the history of this country. And 2 of those have happened in our lifetime, in our voting lifetime, actually.
Shout out to Hillary Clinton.
We all
remember.
Yeah.
4 years ago, I know I can remember. I went to sleep around 12 midnight, like, man, we got this in the bag. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. You know, Democratic, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, let's get it. And I just remember that feeling of waking up in the morning, turning on the television, and them declaring Donald Trump the winner, and just this feeling of like melancholy, I couldn't believe it that a person could get a popular vote but still lose. You know, and that was
a popular vote by wide margin too.
Yeah,
indeed. So I was just kind of like, at that point, I was just like, Electoral College, it needs to be done away with, because a lot of people voted in that election, just like a record number of people voted in this election. I just feel like, okay, people need to feel that their vote counts, regardless. If they go and vote and their candidate wins or loses, at least they know that their vote counted. And I feel like when you vote and then you still leave it up to an Electoral College, because I learned as well that a state could actually, a person could win a state, but it's still up to that Electoral College individual or the person to pick that candidate. Like, they could be a dissenter and not pick that candidate. I forgot the specific name. I was looking at CNN and they said it. And I mean, there are penalties for doing that, but they very well can do that if they wanted to. So that just lets me know as well that if Electoral College, representative wanted to go against the votes or the will of the people of their state, that it can actually happen. So that's then again, it's like, okay, you disenfranchising the voters, so yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to the other strange part of the voting process when it comes to the Electoral College. Do you remember the term superdelegates?
Yes.
Okay. Thankfully it did. Oh my God. You're right. It didn't come into play this election, thankfully. But essentially the idea is, as a state, you elect superdelegates for your party, right? So say for example, we have 3 states on the call right now: Georgia, California, and Kentucky. Let's say that we were all 3 superdelegates for our state. Now, our state popular election may go to, in Kentucky, it's definitely going to Republican. So say it's going to the Republican Party in Kentucky, Democratic in Georgia, which we'll touch on, and Democratic in California. Yes. So here, and this is where I don't want to speak out of turn, but essentially, if it comes into play in the actual primary, I think that's where superdelegates have the most say. So where you're, essentially trying to pick the candidate for your party, and it's a contested the word I'm missing, but essentially it's not a clear-cut winner, and it goes to a round 2 or round 3 for the vote. Well, in that case, that's when the superdelegates can then switch their vote, and it doesn't have to match the popular vote itself. Strange stuff. Thankfully, we didn't even have to get stuck in the weeds with all that this year, but it's just something to keep in mind, because ultimately our system, the American system, is not like every other country's system. And one of the goals for the show is that we do want to touch base on not only how politics affects Black people here in this country, but also in the world. So there's different political systems in different countries, which hopefully we'll get a chance to touch on and understand. And I'm just guessing. I don't know about y'all, but I don't think we got 100% of it right. So it'll be interesting to see what some countries decided that was good, which was bad, what they're going to improve on, what they didn't. But, long story short, it's an interesting process to say the least, but the Electoral College might be a little antiquated. Let's go ahead.
Convoluted. Yeah, I mean, if you ask average people, I'm sure none of them could really explain it to you.
Yeah.
It's too confusing.
Yeah, it's basically me trying to trying to explain why Drake keeps singing. I can't, I can sit here and give you an explanation, but I really don't understand. So
no, but what's more important is why Drake gives you that Canadian, that top boy kind of, what's going on, my guy? Like they're doing that kind of stuff. Now that's what I really can't understand. Now I can understand you rapping, I can understand you singing, but I can't understand why you do that, my guy. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. I mean, that's just me. So I just had to add that in there.
Shout out to Bravery. So, Aubrey, if you're listening, man, keep on doing good work. So, with that being said, man, that's one topic we wanted to touch on. We wanted to just kind of dig into that and know a little bit more. Now, the second topic, admittedly, will be a little bit more celebratory, if you will, right? Because what we want to focus on is one of the states in this great country, and that is the state of Georgia. So who better than to bring on an unofficial Georgia delegate in Polo to
Georgia.
talk about the incredible work, and may I add at the beginning, middle, and end, led by the incredible Stacy Abrams.
Man, she deserves her flowers. She deserves her props. She deserves let me tell you how this thing started, man. So back in 2018, Stacy Abrams, and I'm pretty sure y'all remember Andrew Gilliam in Florida. Yes. Yep. They were two black man and a black woman running for governor for Georgia and Florida, respectively.
Yep.
So basically, Stacy Abrams ended up losing in the election, but it was due to voter suppression on the Republican side. Yes. So what she did, she conceded defeat, which we all were like, dang, you know what I'm saying? No, fight it. But, she conceded defeat. Mm-hmm. But what she did was she didn't just go into the shadows. Mm-hmm. She pretty much got raised voter issues of voter suppression. She got at least 800,000 people registered to vote in the state of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And she galvanized the vote. And I remember the night of the election, the nights of the election this year when, they were, Georgia was just looking really red. And I remember when they said, we just have Fulton, DeKalb, and I was like, oh, we about to turn blue in this league. You know what I'm saying? If they don't know, Fulton is us, DeKalb is us.
Cobb County go blue.
Yeah, so I was just like, so as soon as they said that those were the votes that they had to count and the amount of votes they had left to count, I was like, this is a real possibility that we're about to turn blue, because it was only a few times that we turned blue, and that was for Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, I believe. Mm-hmm. So it's a testament to Stacey Abrams' dedication, to her steadfastness, and for her to really not go into the shadows or just go back to doing her job, but to really be like, this is not going to happen again. Get all of those people registered to vote. Make sure that they wouldn't have voter suppression at the polls. And you see the fruits of her labor. Georgia has finally turned blue and was one of the deciding factors in Joe Biden winning. Yo, if I don't know anything else, Stacey Abrams deserves any job in that cabinet if she wants to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She can name her price, man. She can name her price. Look. Now, a side note, JL, we haven't forgot about the West Coast. Can I just say very briefly, shout out to Arizona, baby.
Boy, shout them out.
Shout out to Arizona.
Shout out to the West Coast, man.
We see you. And listen, as someone who loves this.
What people don't realize is out there, you got a lot of the older folks, the retired folks.
Mm-hmm.
See, they had a lot of respect for McCain, or excuse me, when he crapped on John McCain.
Shout out to editing. Go ahead.
And utterly disrespectful. I think that swayed a lot of the voters because they were just like, oh, no. You're not just going to disrespect one of our people.
Right.
And that is where, as much as I love, a lot of people that lean, well, I lean left in my politics. However, I do have to rein y'all in sometimes because while I would never defend John McCain's politics, that dude is a certified American hero. And things are not about politics. They're outside of that, and that's always been the argument that I've made with some political topics. Listen, I get who you voted for and I get why you voted for, but ultimately, there are some things that kind of supersede the political arena. And being a military hero that was tortured and refused to leave because he didn't want to leave his men behind, like, yo.
He was called a loser for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, yo, I felt like, even though looking at the election results, I was kind of like, damn, it's a lot of racist people in America.
Sure. Sure.
I was like, because I think going into this, I was like, okay, there are a lot more level-headed white people out. It's got to be. I was like, they are out there and they are just as disgusted as black people are. Yeah. No, the hell they wasn't. They are not, they are not disgusted at all. They are okay. They are okay with this, and that was, I think, to me, I know a lot of people was like, well, duh, you know what I'm saying? But I was kind of like, nah, I actually thought, that it would be more level-headed, centrist, Caucasian Americans out there, you know? And, I'm just glad that they're, even though it was dang near 50-50, that it was more level-headed people out there that turned this country around. So
thank God.
Yeah. I think that's the best way we can
if
describe
you would have had
it.
some of those non-level-headed people, it ain't over yet.
Including Donald Trump. So, there's that.
Shout out to that. Which listen, I know we're doing side notes to side notes. Can I just say, family, I just want it on the record before we actually have a show where we dive into it. I want to give everybody a little homework before we get out of here, okay? So a lot of my time on BAP has been spent with the other members making fun of my non-nerdisms, right? So I just don't get a lot of the stuff that they talk about. It's a running joke. It's all good. That being said, even me, someone who is not that well versed in everything nerdy, knows the origin of a good villain when I see it. Okay. And I challenge everyone to go on YouTube, and I might even link this in the show notes if there's a way to do it. Go on YouTube and look up the Correspondents' Dinner when Seth Meyers was hosting, and President Obama, he and Seth Meyers took turns roasting Donald Trump to his face for a solid 30 minutes, and it was great material. Like, and for the record, that was also the night that President Obama ordered the military strike on Osama bin Laden. So, like, if you want somebody that can do it all, come on, baby. He can give you he can give you the best comedy performance that you've seen in years and take out one of the biggest threats to our country. But anyways, so yes, if you get a chance, click on the link that I will try to put in the show notes to just watch the roasting, and then think of things in context of someone who was in the crowd being a petulant child that didn't like being made fun of, and then think about all the things he did from that point on. I'm just saying. Origin story for the villain, right? But as always, family, we are going to respect your time, and we did hit on 2 topics. So we will start with our esteemed guest, Mr. Polo. We appreciate you coming out. Listen, if we're not going to ask too much, but if there's a chance that we that we'll hear you anywhere on the mic in the next couple of weeks, just be silent.
Oh man, I appreciate, man, just being here. Thank you for inviting me. Maybe, you know what I'm saying, maybe you'll hear me on the airwaves.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, we appreciate you as always, man, and of course the smarter half of the duo, Mr. JL. Where can the people find you, man?
As always, you guys can reach out to me on Twitter at Brothers Lehman, or you can check out my the show I do with my brother, CL, Brothers Lehman Sports Happy Hour. You can check us out on blackearsonline.com.
Love it. And I'm Teddy D. You can check me out at the Why Not Podcast, as well as here on BAP Politics. Shout out to everyone in the hashtag SYO. And now that you woke, family, what you gonna do? Peace.
Peace.
Peace.